Well, I get why they postponed this movie for 3 years now. Yeah, unfortunately, New Mutants kinda sucked. The story centers around Danielle Moonstar, Magik, Wolfsbane, Cannonball, and Sunspot as they find themselves trapped in a secret facility that is centered around trying to help them come to grips with their mutant powers. But of course, there's something more nefarious at play beneath the surface. Also, this is gonna be a spoiler review. I mean, let's be honest, you're probably not gonna see this one in theaters if theaters are even open where you live. And if you are, well, I really doubt that of all the movies, this is the movie that you don't want to get spoiled for you. This is the hill you're gonna die on here. Plus, it's like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning as I'm working on this video. I just got back in the theater a little while ago. I'm just ready to get into this thing. Well, the movie starts off with Danny Moonstar running from a shadowy force of nature, which we'll later learn is the Demon Bear, before finding herself waking up handcuffed in a strange, secret hospital. There we meet Dr. Reyes, who promises to help Danny understand her new mutant powers. And we're introduced to the other young mutants at the facility: Roberto, Rain, Liana, and Sam. The first half of the movie is simply this group of mutants hanging out and getting to know each other. And it's honestly impressive how much time you can spend with them yet care so little about them. Seriously, it's impressive how well the movie is able to do this. In good storytelling and good screenwriting, every scene, every line really should either be driving the plot forward or focusing on character development. If it isn't, it's just filler, cut it. Well, they somehow managed to do almost the exact opposite. A lot of these early interactions between the group center around them either fighting or refusing to talk about their past or their powers. And the movie is also trying to keep this aura of mystery around the building and I guess around the characters too, because it doesn't feel burdened to tell you nothing. Seriously, there are like 5 scenes I can think of off the top of my head where people are just sitting around talking, and half of them end with Roberto refusing to say anything. And while you learn more about Rain and Sam, it's still vague enough to where you're not really invested in them or their struggles. They also spend quite a bit of time developing Danny and Rain's relationship, which has some sweet moments, but for the most part, couldn't care less. It doesn't help that you don't really know either Rain or Danny as characters, and they get in a loving relationship within like a day or two of knowing each other. It happens way too fast for it to be believable. I guess you could argue that because they're both going through similar experiences and are sealed off in this mysterious hospital away from the outside world, that would kind of speed up the process. But I don't know. I just didn't really buy it. Oh, the movie also tries to make Sunspot and Magik happen as a couple, but that's completely out of left field and it goes nowhere. So don't even worry about it. However, the bright part of all this, the bright spot is Magik. She's the only one that's got a personality. She's the one who's pushing conflict and driving the story. She's the only one that's got an interesting backstory. She should have been the main character here, and I love her. Now, Magik isn't perfect, but in the sea of meh that is this movie, well, Magik is the shining lighthouse that's pointing you to what could have, what should have been. Did I mention I love her? Anyways, that's one part of the first half of the movie. The other half is each member of the group splitting off to go off by themselves in order to get scared because something is off about the building. And some of the scares work, others don't, but none of them are just like terrifying. At best, they just kind of make you feel unnerved. Finally, the group realizes that demons are out there after Rain gets branded by a priest that she had killed years earlier. and the group decide that they need to do something about all this. Only thing is, Danny is actually the one bringing about these demons, as her mutant power is the ability to look into someone's psyche and manifest their worst fears and darkest desires. So Dr. Reyes says that she needs to run some more tests on Danielle in order to better understand her powers. Only she's lying, and she's actually going to try and kill Danny. Because, surprise, surprise, she worked for the Essex Corporation. Those same guys from Logan who created X-23 and were kidnapping other young mutants in the future. In fact, once these mutants mastered their powers, that's where they were going to be shipped off to. Essex had decided that Danny was too dangerous to be kept alive, but the rest of them, well, they're all natural born killers. Also, not really surprising that Reyes is the bad guy. I mean, no normal person talks about rattlesnakes or vet analogies as much as she did. She's got bad guy written all over her from the very beginning. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, we get the best horror part of the movie, the Smiley Men. They're from Ileana's nightmares, and there is something deeply disturbing about them slithering around with those masks on. Real Slenderman vibes. Then they take the mask off, and you see that they got no eyes. That's definitely the scariest moment, and it's all downhill from there. The Smiley Men aren't really presented as that much of a threat. That's pretty much all they do is just slowly wander after the group. And did I mention that everyone here has superpowers? Well, yeah, they've all got powers. So everyone can take out the Smiley Men like they're nothing. So you never really feel like anyone is in serious danger. Anyways, they get away from the Smiley Men. Rain saves Danny from Dr. Reyes. Then the Demon Bear shows up. Really just shoehorned in here at the last moment and completely out of left field. But every superhero movie has to end in a big CGI battle, I guess. Now, there are some cool elements, especially when Magik whips out her soul sword and Lockheed shows up as an actual dragon, and they just start going at this big old bear. Everyone else's part in the fight is pretty lame, but Magik was cool because Magik is the best part of this movie. But it's like the Smiley Men. You never really feel like anything bad is going to happen to the group. The stakes feel artificial. Finally, Danny learns that this demon bear is a manifestation of her worst fears, that she's got to conquer her fear. So she approaches the bear and just starts talking to him. And the bear actually chills out. Now, I guess there is something to say about not necessarily killing your fear, but learning to conquer it and control it, because fear isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's part of being human. You can't let it control you, you gotta control it. That's a nice message, I guess. But the way she approaches the bear and talks to it is like the way I talk to my dog. So that was anticlimactic and unintentionally hilarious. Anyways, she manages to beat the demon bear, the force field around the complex is lifted, and the group leaves. I guess to live happily ever after, because we're definitely not going to see them again. They're not making a second movie here. Ultimately, I think New Mutants made some of the most unforgivable mistakes you can make as a movie. First off, it didn't feel like the story needed to be told at all. It's a lot like something like Solo, where the movie just kind of feels unnecessary. The Demon Bear saga is the definitive story arc for the New Mutants. But this is about as much the Demon Bear saga as the two Dark Phoenix movies are the Phoenix saga. Doesn't help that it's supposed to come out years ago when the Fox X-Men verse was actually still a thing. But now that it's not, well, that sense of this is just being unnecessary is cranked up to an 11. Secondly, the story that they did tell, well, it was completely forgettable. I mean, I forgot Dr. Race's name almost as soon as I left the theater. And it took me a good few minutes to remember what her name was. Bear in mind, she is the main villain in this movie. Only thing I remember about her is that she really likes rattlesnakes or something. And our heroes, well, they're so one note that they might as well be just as forgettable. Sunspot's a douche. Sam's just a nice guy. Rain's the quiet Christian girl. Magik's the bitch with a good heart underneath. Still love her. And Danny is as bland as can be. Her character description might as well be protagonist. That's really all she is. That's her one defining trait. Dr. Reyes obviously didn't leave an impact. The Essex twist fell completely flat. And most of the horror demons never really felt that threatening. I promise you, you won't remember this movie within a few hours of seeing it. Should have done everyone a favor and just thrown it up on Hulu or something. But what y'all think of the movie? Sign out down below. Also, be sure to hit that like button, the subscribe button, and I will see you next time.